Did Andis white label a clipper from China? Well, that answer is no. Did they have a machine made in China? That answer is yes. But instead of white labeling, where they just slap their logo on a clipper design that exists already, they private labeled. And private labeling is when you work with the manufacturer in China and you have something exclusively designed for you and your company to your requests and needs. But just how different are those machines? So in this video, we're going to compare the Andis Phenom to the Kemei 1825. And you guys already know, we're going to talk about the blades. We're going to heat test the blades. We're going to talk about the motor. We're going to test the RPMs. We're going to test the battery. We're going to open the machine up. And we're going to get to the bottom of it and crack this case. All right, so right off the bat, you'll see both of these machines have a detachable cutting head. And you'll see both of these cutting heads look almost identical in design. And this detachable cutting head is interchangeable. So the Kemei fits on the Andis, and the Andis fits on the Kemei. Both of these cutting heads also open up to about the same length, which is a half. They both have click levers. And if you wanted these to be a floating lever and you didn't want the clicks, you could just loosen this up and that will get rid of it. Or if you want to do it the right way, as the instructions tell you, you would remove this completely, take it out, and flip this gear around. Then reinstall it with this notch in the matching slot. And you'll have a floating lever. And before we take the blades off, let's talk about the size of the blades real quick. You'll see the Andis blade is bigger than the Kemei blade. The Kemei blade is more along the size of Wahl, Babyliss, Stylecraft, Gamma, TPOB, JRL. They all have the same size blade. Andis is like the only one with this bigger blade. And what that means is that you're going to be stuck on the guard systems that are native to Andis pretty much. So if you like different guard systems, you might want to consider getting the Kemei cutting head for your machine because it'll fit right on it, or changing the blades on this. And now let's take the blades off and talk about changing those blades real quick. All right, so now the blades are off and you'll notice there's a difference in the brackets. The bracket on the Andis has 4 holes in it, and that means you could fit the traditional Andis master blade if you wanted to put on it. The Kemei only has 2 holes in the bracket, so you'll be able to fit most blades, just not the Andis master blade and stuff like that. And I will mention that not every Phenom comes with this bracket. They must have changed it in production and decided to do it moving forward, but there are some that don't have that bracket. And one way I think you could tell is if you have a silver screw. If your Phenom has a silver screw, then you might have the 2-hole bracket instead of the 4, because I did have one that only had 2 holes in the bracket and it had a silver screw. And I've had people talk about that in the comments of the video I did that talks about the versatility of this bracket and how you can install pretty much any blade on the Phenom. So check out that video if you want to do some blade swaps. But right now, let's get into the blades for these 2 machines. All right, so the Phenom comes with the phase blade. It says Phenom on the blade, but that's just because that's the name of the clipper it comes on. But it's a phase blade. And we'll talk about the stationary blade. Stationary blade, all metal, DLC coating, diamond-like carbon. You guys already know it helps keeps the blade sharper for longer, cooler for longer, and prevents rust. This blade has 24 teeth and a little bit of oil reservoirs in those teeth. And the cutting blade also metal, DLC coating, 22 teeth on the cutting blade, and this is kind of like a standard cutting blade that will perform well. And now we'll move on to the Kemei blade and talk about the stationary blade first. Very similar, fade blade as well, metal, diamond-like carbon. Same type of shape, but it's a little more rounded out on the Kemei. And the Kemei blade has 21 teeth. And when you flip it over, no type of oil reservoirs on it, so a little less premium. Cutting blade for the Kemei, metal, DLC coating as well. This blade has 28 teeth. Very similar in design to the Phenom cutting blade. And generally the rule of thumb when it comes to teeth on blades or guards is the more teeth you have means the less space in between those teeth. So you have smaller gaps and that feeds the hair in a little bit slower, creating a more precise and forgiving cut. When you have less teeth, that's wider gaps in between the teeth so you can feed the hair in a little bit faster, cuts a little bit better through bulk, and is better at trapping thick or coarse hair in it. So now we know all about the blades. Let's give them a heat test. All right, so as always, to get the most accurate results on the heat test, we're going to cut off a piece of electrical tape and put it on the blades and make sure we don't have any of the thermal deflected from the DLC coating when we use the thermal camera on the blades. So up first is the Andis Phenom. What we're going to do is going to put this machine in the clamp and let it run for 30 minutes and see how hot the blades get. All right, so you see we got 115 degrees for 30 minutes of runtime with the Andis Phenom. About what we would expect from a blade like this. All right, so now we have the Kemei 1825. Same rules, 30 minutes of runtime, and let's see how hot the blades get. All right, so after 30 minutes, we have 108 degrees. A little bit cooler than the Andis Phenom. Again, a smaller blade, same RPM, so that may have something to do with it. All right, so now let's talk about the motor for these machines. Now, both of these machines have a rotary brushless motor, and we're going to torque test it and RPM test it. So let's start with the Andis and see how well it performs going through the brush. Not gonna lie, that went through better than I expected. Let's see how the Kemei does. Kemei went through pretty good too. It had a little problems, but remember, this cutting blade has 28 teeth, so expect the hair to get fed in just a little bit slower, and I think that's why it had a slight problem getting through, but pretty solid performance for both of these machines. All right, now we'll talk about the RPMs, and the Andis Phenom says it's supposed to get 7,000 SPM. Now, what's SPM? They say 7,000 SPM, but to me, they mean RPM, and I'm gonna explain why. Because SPM is stroke per minute. RPM is revolution per minute, or in a circle when it revolves, when the motor revolves. And this is a rotary motor that goes in a circle. This motor goes in a circle to move the blades right to left. So when it pushes it to the right, that's one stroke. When it pushes it to the left, that's another stroke. And that's why you'll see some of the specs for the older Andis machines, it'll say like 14,000 SPM, but that equates to 7,000 RPMs in my book. So this is 7,000 RPMs. Now let's test the RPMs, the revolutions per minute. Andis Phenom. And you'll see we're exactly there at 7,000 RPMs. Now let's test the Kemei. Kemei, same type of motor, rotary brushless motor. They don't have any specs anywhere to tell you how much RPMs this machine gets or SPMs, but let's test it and see. Kemei 1825. 7,000 RPMs as well. Not only that, but the same exact RPM, 7,025 RPMs. Might have the same motor, but we're going to take a look at that in the teardown section of the video. All right, now let's check the batteries on these machines. And the Andis Phenom is up first, and it is supposed to get up to 2.5 hours. So let's put it on the charger, wait until that red light goes steady white. That means we have a full charge. Throw it in the clamp, hit the shot clock, and see if we can get that 2.5 hours runtime. All right, you see we hit exactly 2 hours and 45 minutes. So we got beyond the advertised runtime, and that's always a good thing. Moving on to the Kemei 1825. Now, inside the manual, it says we are supposed to get about 150 minutes of runtime. So let's see if we can get that runtime out of the Kemei. What we're going to do, we're going to put it in the clamp and let it charge because we have no charging stand. And the LED screen is going to show the percentage, go right up to 100%. So now we got 100%. Let's turn that machine on, hit the shot clock, and let it run and see if we can get that 150-minute runtime, which comes out to 2.5 hours. And Kemei falling a little short at 2 hours and 10 minutes. Not too bad. Maybe at a different charge, a little oil, a little more lubrication on the cam follower, and we could get that 2.5 hour runtime, but not today. All right, so now let's talk about the body for these two machines. Now you see they are very similar in design. And we'll start with the Andis Phenom first. Now we already know all about the detachable cutting head. This has an interchangeable metal plate with the interchangeable rubber grip. We'll go over more on that in the accessories section. This has the charging LED indicator on the bottom, USB-C charging, flip it to the side, switches on the side. We have the finger grooves on the back and this logo right here. And we also know about the lever already. Click lever that can be changed to floating as well. Kemei 1825, metal lid as well with a rubber grip. LED screen, which shows you how much time is left on the battery. Also has an icon that shows when it's charging, and another icon, which is an oil can, tells you when it has to be oiled. No USB capabilities on it, just has the regular charging port on the back. Switch on the side, just like the Phenom. Finger grooves on the back, just like the Phenom, and also has a little bit of texture on the back here, which the Phenom doesn't have. So, very similar in shape and design. Now let's weigh the machines and check the sound real quick. Andis Phenom, 13.3 ounces, or 376 grams. Kemei 1825, 12.3 ounces, or 348 grams. So now we'll check the sound, starting off with the Andis Phenom. .67 decibels. Kemei 1825. 65 decibels. And now we'll talk about the price. Now, at the time of this video, the Andis Phenom is retailing for $179.99. And the Kemei 1825 is retailing anywhere from $35 to $60 on AliExpress. But what do we get for that price? Let's check the accessories. So with the Phenom, you get an interchangeable lid and a changeable thumb grip. So you could put the thumb grip with the gold, have a white and gold. You could have the black with the white thumb grip, or you could have the black on black, whichever way you want to do it. Also comes with blade cover, oil, clean out brush, instruction manual, charging stand that connects USB-C, USB-C cord, which is pretty long, power brick, and a set of double magnetic guards. And these magnets are super strong, man. You have to be careful they don't grab razor blades on the station and cut you up. They start with the number 0, which is like a half, to a number 1. Number 2, you don't get a 1.5. A number 3, and a number 4, and that's all you get. All right, and for the Kemei, well, you don't get much. You get blade cover, clean out brush, manual, charging cord, which goes from USB to the traditional plug, which plugs in the bottom, and a set of guards, starting with a half, which they have labeled A, a 1, labeled 1, a 1.5, which is labeled B, and a 2. And that's it. All right, now for the teardown section, let's open these machines up and take a look. All right, so here's the inside of the Andis Phenom, and here's the inside of the Kemei 1825. Take a look at them side by side. And this has this extra jacket over the motor. Circuit boards aren't exactly the same. Looks like Andis went with a different battery, but the machines are definitely more alike than I originally thought. So let's get into the final thoughts. All right, so final thoughts. Machines are definitely more alike than I originally anticipated, but the Andis is more of the premium machine. They stepped up a little bit on a couple aspects of it, especially the accessories. You get a lot more. But my biggest problem with the machine is if you have a blade that's a different size than most of the industry today, and the guards for this size blade are limited, people don't have much choices. So if you're gonna sell them this, you have to give them more guards. You can't have the guards only go up to a number 4. And if it goes up to a number 4, you damn sure can't cheap out and not have a 1.5 in the mix. And the plastic on them isn't the greatest. Like, how about we cut some costs on the magnets, because the magnets are so strong. Look, these are how strong the magnets are on here. It looks like I'm doing magic. We don't need the magnets to be this strong. You could get a high quality plastic or get rid of the magnets and just have a high quality plastic guard set that goes from a 1/2 all the way up to at least a 6. Especially in these days, because these days people are more loyal to their guards than they are to the actual clipper. As crazy as it sounds, because so much stuff comes out, they want to try it, but they stick with usually the same guard system that they like. So you just can't do that nowadays. But other than that, the machine is quality. The way it performs is great. You know, there's a lot of things that I like about it that make me want to keep it on the station, but probably going to change, you know, I'll wind up changing the blades. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is the finger grooves have like a little indentation on the side, which is pretty cool. So it adds for like a better grip. I haven't seen that before. And both of these machines with the detachable cutting edge is a cool feature. I like it. And this bar that goes across helps stabilize that cam follower to give it a good left to right motion. And one thing about this detachable head system is that they have to make sure these lock in solid all around. And there's no chance of this happening. You know, because not all of them lock on the same. Some of them lock on really tight and it's good, but some of them are a little loose. And it'll fly off just like that. And then you're going to break your blades. And this is a $50 piece. And moving on to the Kemei 1825, my final thoughts. Man, the accessories that come with this are so limited. It's like, I've never seen this machine come with the charging stand. And if you're going to order from AliExpress, order it the version that's a little more expensive that comes with the box, because when it comes in that bubble wrap, I swear it feels like the package got dropped out of the plane from 30,000 feet and landed in front of the crib. Because, you know, I've had the USB metal part bent, I've had the brackets bend. You know, the packages don't get handled nicely when they're making that long of a journey. And the Kemei 1825 isn't the only one like this. There's also, I think it's a Kemei 1826 where it looks just like it. They just don't have the LED screen, but it still is a detachable head. There's also the VGR 135 detachable head. Yeah, it fits on all of them. There's also, I think, like a VGR 137 that has the LED screens. So I just used the Kemei 1825 for this video because that was the most available one. I didn't even see the 135 available for purchase anymore. This goes to show that there are a lot of good machines out there for budget prices. So this was an interesting video. And the whole thing with Andis getting machines made in China, I'm not mad at that at all, because China just pushes innovation out there. Like, I don't think Andis would take this type of risk or do certain things if it wasn't available for them from a Chinese manufacturer that doesn't really have a brand name on the line. They're just pushing out machines, trying out new things, and some of those new things stick. So I like Andis's experience and knowledge collaborating with Chinese manufacturers overseas, and I'm interested to see what they come up with. It could be the best of both worlds with experience and engineering and tried and true. But I like it because you guys all know we went decades. Some people might even say a century where we didn't get any innovative upgrades to machines. And if they were very minimal. So this is like a golden age that I like to call the cordless revolution. So like and subscribe and get into the vibe.